everyone, and welcome back to the Colour Cave, where we like to play with art stuff. My name is Jem. Thank you very much for all of your feedback regarding the Ink House and wanting to carry on. So my plan is to have another video out quite quickly after this one to keep the momentum going, and then we'll take a wee break with one of our unboxing videos and we'll follow on after that. I'm not sure how long all this is going to take. As you can see, I have done my homework, and today we're going to be working on this stack of books here, so we'll see how we get on with that. So we are sticking with the Derwent Inktense pencils that we've been using. So we're going to start up with our friendly but slightly sinister talons up here, and I feel that we want to go for like a tan colour. I'm thinking maybe this tan colour might be a good place to start, along with the saddle brown and the baked earth. It's colours that I use quite frequently, like I always seem to come back to them. So here is our tan, and again, just like before, I'm just going to get some base colour down. I do want some white areas here. If you're going to talk about, I'm assuming it's a bird, it could be absolutely anything, but they seem to, if they have paler colours, it does seem to be more towards their toes. So maybe we can decide that we'll have those a little bit later. And in these areas here where we've got a lot of the line work, I want to darken them down and create like sort of a shadow area almost. And I'm just randomly going to put down heavier parts of the pencil to give us a bit more of a feel of movement. You know, we don't want a uniform colour, this is an organic thing. So you can see that's just made all the difference. And we have to augment our technique slightly when it comes to adding water, but I'll show you that in just a wee second. I'm really tempted to pop some of that in there as well. The in between the toe hairs. And get a couple of layers down there as well. Okay, so working on this, I want to use a smaller water brush than I did last time. So I've got the yellow one. It's the same water brush as I was using before. The link to those are down in the description if you'd like to see what they are. And you can maybe go and find some. I really like the tip on this one because it's a bit shorter as well, which gives you more control. So what I want to do first is I want to start in the lightest areas, because if we start in the darker parts, we're going to end up pulling that darker colour out, diluting it down, but also making the other areas darker as well, which is not what we want. So I'm deliberately avoiding the areas where I've put that extra layer of colour on. And I'm going to kind of use a flicky motion, again, just to try and sort of mimic this shaggy foot hair, plumage. Okay, yes. And while that's drying, I can do the other one, and then I'll go back in and do the darker parts. So the likes of down here, I think that might look good if we do that. And I can bring this right down. Now this is going to help give contrast and separate these 2 feet. If we have this section all the same colour, you know, they're going to kind of merge into each other. So if we get the opportunity to put in contrast, I'm always up for it. Make this dark in here as well again. See the in between the toe here, maybe a little bit in there. But because we're going to have these books quite dark colours as well, it would be nice to have the toes a bit paler. Again, contrast between 2 sections that are adjacent. Adjacent, that's a good word. Not too concerned about the light source here, but if you want to get technical, then this side should technically be lighter. But we'll not worry too much about that. Obviously the feet and the toes aren't a flat surface, so there may be light bouncing off various parts there. So again, same thing, lighter areas first. Alright, and then I'm going to go in, and when I do these darker areas, I'm being very careful and keeping that pigment concentrated. I say I don't want to drag it out and dilute it out too much. Maybe spread that out a little bit. The talons, I would imagine, will have a sort of tint to them. So I'm just going to use the lemon Inktense pencil. So this was the colour that we've used over here. So that's given us a little bit of uniformity. I just want to pop that in. And then I'm going to use the tan pencil. So I'm keeping these dry. And using the hatching that's here as well, I'm just going to flick up a few lines. I don't imagine these claws would be pristine. Again, hadn't had many thoughts on what type of creature this may or may not be. Okay, good stuff. So let's do the books then. I'm really feeling like I'm channeling red energy. Like, I feel that red is a good place to start. So if we look at our Inktense colours here, the red oxide might be a nice place to start as a base colour. Because my thinking is, if I just take this off here, this is to protect the page on the other side, not this page. I was thinking that maybe we could use the madder brown or even the dark chocolate to grubby things down a bit. Because the true reds are they're very red. So I think that's probably a good place to start. And I'll probably, again, use some Julia K paint and maybe add some gold trims, you know, like on the spine here, there's these stripes that are running across. So same as before, I want this to be quite uniform. Leather bound books are, relatively speaking, quite smooth. I know they've got a textured surface, but when you're at this sort of distance, and the fact they've got all these hatched lines on them, do want to keep that colour quite uniform. And this is a bit like colouring grayscale. You know, the areas where the hatching is quite condensed, you know that's going to be a shadow area, like up in there. Again, just trying to keep a relatively smooth coat layer of pencil here. Not imperative, but it makes using the water brush easier. And I do often say it's the water brush that does the work, but it doesn't have to be that way. You know, maybe if you're not, you know, I mentioned before having to be quick. If you're still learning or you're not confident, which quite a few of you seem to, you have a bit of trepidation about the Inktense pencils, then if you're looking for quite a smooth layer of colour, then it follows that if you have a smooth layer of pencil, that will be easier for you when it comes to activating it with your water brush. So the likes of this section here where the hatching is much lighter, the red's really going to pop out here. I'm trying to get in all these wee spaces, there we go. So the ones with the spines showing, so this one and this one, I would really like to have them stand out. So I think I'll have a green one and a blue one. I think the leaf green as a base colour. And the good old favourite, the iron blue. I told you I use that pencil a lot. So we'll just continue to get some of this base colour down. Oh, green, my favourite. Now I'm going to leave a little bit of a white edge there, you can just see. I want to just have some bounce light on this one, because I kind of went over the lines there anyway, so I might as well make use of it, you know. So again, I'm not too worried about the hatching here, because we are going to go back in, again, like we did with these little panels in the stained glass, we're going to go back in and we'll darken that down with some dry pencil. It's a little bit fiddlier in here. Fiddlier. And this is where having the smaller water brush is great. I'm not being too careful around these lines here, because the paint, obviously, with the metallic element of it, will cover any pencil that we put down. There we go, good stuff. And then I'm going to use the iron blue on this one just because it's going to look cool. Yeah, I'll just slap some of that colour down there. Go for it. I've realised, I was like, what's this? This is a bit of the window frame here, so I'll need to come back and deal with that. I'm going to grab the oak pencil, which is this colour here. And I'm going to use that for the books where you're not really seeing a lot of the jacket. Now, this is the only pencil in the Inktense set that kind of throws you a curveball because it looks very green. This pencil changes colour a lot when you add water to it. So do not be alarmed, my pretties. Just realised I've missed a wee bit of the book up there as well. There we go. Yeah, so for these ones in between, see where we're not really seeing a lot of the jacket, because you don't want too many colours, although you want interest, you don't want too much going on. We'll maybe skip that one out. And the likes of here, you're not really seeing an awful lot of colour at all. There's a lot of hatching going on there, so that'll be fine. So I think maybe we'll do this one as well. It's a big old book. You can see I've put a lot more pencil down in this because it really is in the shadows there, and that's obviously indicated by this hatching. And this is the really great thing. One of the videos that is still really popular on my channel, that's an old video, is my introduction to grayscale colouring video, and there's people still leaving comments saying that they found it really helpful. And it really is, like, grayscale colouring is the easiest because you've got lots of guidance. And if you don't feel like messing about with lots and lots of different pencils, you can literally block colour and it'll still look as if it's got quite a lot of shading and depth because, you know, obviously there's grey areas there. I'm going to go back to my red oxide for this one here. And let's pick out a warmer brown. So I think maybe willow for this one here. Oh, I need to have a wee sharpen. Where's my sharpener? Not got much of a point on that. There we go, that's better. I haven't decided yet what I'm going to do with the desk. I'm thinking some sort of like wood pattern. Obviously it's going to be a shade of brown. So with the rest of these books I'm going to steer away from the brown colours. So I think I'll go with the iron blue on this this one here. Maybe even this one here too. I'm not entirely sure. I think we should go for it. Again, it's very dark, so it's not going to make a huge amount of difference there. And this looks like a purse here. I feel like that should be red as well, but not the same red as the books. Yeah, let's go iron blue on this one. So I'm going to go really lightly here and maybe leave a bit of something going on here, and we'll maybe try and get some of the reflections of the stained glass on that part. So really lighten up there and have a bit more on this side. So again, we have to be a bit more selective with our water brush, but we'll deal with it a little bit at a time. I just wanted to get all the pencil down. If you're going to work in quick succession, it might be an idea to alternate. You know, so if you coloured this one, leave that one blank and then colour this one, so that when you go in with your water brush, you're not in the jeopardy of maybe, you know, activating pencil by accident. I'm quite confident in my brush strokes, so I'm not too concerned about that, even in these smaller spaces. But again, if you're newer to something like this, the ideal example is here. I would do the green first and then activate it with water and let it dry and then come in with the blue. So that's a step you can take if you're maybe not you know, if you're a bit newer to these types of pencils, or you say your confidence is just not as bolshy as mine. I'm not going to have any edging on that one because I don't want it to be overkill, because we've got this pocket watch as well. So, right, we'll stop with that just now, and I just want to start activating some of this. So I'll just start at the top again. Pow, look at that for colour, yeah. The part up under the foot there, I'm not even going to activate that. It is really dark. So I could probably say the same for in there too, but we've got to come over this side, so there's probably a little line in there as well. Oh. Alright, so I'll leave that one to dry. Make sure my brush is clean. And I'll come down to the green one here. I love this green, it's so pretty. Let's see, I went a wee bit over the line there, but that's okay because we're going to paint over that. See, Julia's paints fix everything. Again, just leaving that little edge as best I can just now. You see how much that's lifted though, it's lovely. So we'll leave the blue one just now. Again, just what I was talking about there, alternating. Obviously, if we do one that's wet and then we do one next door that's wet, it doesn't matter how confident you are in your brush strokes, you're probably going to end up have them run into each other or bleed into each other. And that's what we don't want. So I'll start in this lighter area first because I've got quite a concentration of pencil at either side. So we'll just work into that gradually. There we go. And we'll do the blue down the bottom here. I'm not going to bother with that bottom line either. If we come over here to this book, start in the lightest part, just like we've been doing, and then we can gradually work our way into those darker areas. Oh, such a nice colour of blue. Look at that. Okay, so we should be dry enough up here now. Yep. I'm going to turn this way just so I don't put my hand in this one down here. Now, I haven't done anything with this book yet, but I'm not sure what I'm doing with that. I might actually make that one black. We'll discuss that in just a wee moment. This is kind of awkward now. This way. Sorry, I don't want to make you feel seasick. We'll pop that. Oh. Yeah, that's better. Whee! Such a pretty colour of blue. Again, clean off the brush. Into this red. I feel like I want this one to be much darker, but we'll go in and correct this with our pencil layer that's going to go over the top. Oh dear, that was not meant to happen. And there we go. So we'll leave those to dry properly for a little bit before we go in and do some of the detail work. But I think you'll agree, if I zoom right out, that's looking fairly good so far. So we'll keep going with that just in a little minute. Okay, so we've had a wee bit of drying time now. I've decided just to go with this iron blue for this, the cover of this book, and then not activate it with water. It's such a thin, teeny weeny wee bit that it's not going to make that much difference. So that's what we're going to do. I'm needing a bit more of a pointy point though to get into this wee space. No point in making things difficult. There we go, that's better. I say that, and no point in making things difficult. I seem to like to make things difficult for myself. Alright, so let's think about some shading, and then we'll think about the pages of the books. I would like to leave a fair bit of white, but these, you know, we're thinking about these as old kind of like maybe slightly decaying books perhaps. The word we use, we have a Scottish word for that, another one of our descriptive words. The words we use for old books that are kind of like musty, damp smelling, we call them fusty. Fusty, very good descriptive word. Now I notice as well there's almost like a pattern on the side here, and there's these little hidden creatures that are all the way throughout the book. And I don't know if any of you have ever seen the sides of books, and sometimes they've got like it's almost like watermarks on them, but it's ink. They're very, very pretty. You don't see many of them now actually. So maybe something like that too. Okay, so really want to get the sort of grimy feeling in. For our red books here, our red oxide, I think I want to use this madder brown pencil that I pointed out earlier, which is this colour here. So we'll put a wee bit of that down. Again, very similar technique to what we were doing here, the madder brown. And really thinking about the hatching, but also where the light's coming from as well. So this book seems to be facing more onto us, the viewer. So we'll just go gently to begin with and see. Again, we're looking for subtlety here. We're not looking for wham bam, thank you ma'am. You know, lots of colour. We've done that bit already. Just give it that sort of slightly grubby appearance. So concentrating on the hatched areas, but we can add in extra patches. Again, we want them to look slightly soiled. There's probably a better phrase for that, but never mind. Yeah. Okay, now we're jamming. Now I feel like we can use the oak pencil, which was this colour here, for our more olive tinted book. So I've left that wee white corner that we've already talked about. And I'm just going to take the blue that we were using and just make sure I've got some water running. And I've got a wee scrap of paper here. Yeah, so for this little white corner here, I want there to be a wee bit of a reflection, and I've kind of already gone over into it with this blue by accident. So this was the dark aquamarine pencil. And you can see here I've just been testing out on this bit of paper. So I'm taking the colour straight off the pencil here onto my water brush. And then I want to get it quite diluted out. And then I'm just going to tickle the edge of the book with that. Oh, there we go. Just down that edge there. Very, very minor detail, but it's just one of those things that kind of adds, you know, adds a bit more of something to it. So yeah, that's fine. And I'll continue on with my oak pencil now. Prime grubbiness here. So again, concentrating on those hatched areas, but not being frightened to add in a little bit more in some of the other spots. This is the fun part. Well, I mean, all of it's fun, but funnerer. It's a funnerer part. Oh my. So with our blue book here, I'm going back in with the iron blue. But you can see that's making quite a difference there. It is quite a strong colour in itself, you know, in its own right. And again, just grabbing this madder brown. little bit in there, and I'm going to use that on this book as well. Okay. Nice. Enjoying it a lot. Okay, for the pages of the book, this is kind of, this is the difficult one. I kind of want to use this tan pencil in places, but I think it might be too much, and I don't really want to start diluting out too much. The lemon is questionable also. The other colour I was thinking about is gold, which is one of the newer pencils. So I think maybe the tan and the gold might be good colours. We could use them really sparingly in places. And again, I want to be able to catch a little bit of the light. So the likes of this edge here, maybe just a little bit like so. Just a wee tiny bit at the edge there. I'll zoom in a little bit more. Seems to be a bit far away there, doesn't it? So the likes of this book, perhaps we could take the gold pencil and just take away some of the white of the paper. You know, we're not necessarily colouring it in, so to speak. Well, we are, but you know what I mean. But just a few little patches like that. And again, we can just very lightly send our brush over there. With this one, I'm not really sure what I'm going to do with this yet. I'll come back to that. For the likes of this, where the pages are facing away, we can, and because we've got right in at the spine here, we can make this look super grubby. So we get a nice C shape going there, and then I might just... Again, you can work away with that if you want. If you wanted to dilute that out, you could. But I think I'm quite happy with that just as it is. I feel that this one needs the same treatment as well though. And again, if you're feeling fancy, we can maybe just have a little bit of a glow there at the edge. I think I'm going to take this tan colour and I'm going to run it over all the pages. Maybe this is a really old book. We'll get a slightly darker edge there. And then on this side, we'll just have a very light version of it because it's facing out more towards that window. So I can take my water brush here. Again, not necessarily activating all of it. This one feels too yellow, so I kind of want to just stick in a little bit of the tan pencil in between, especially at this edge here. Now I've got the willow pencil, so these are all pencils I've been using before. Maybe a little bit darker in there. Again, thinking contrast. I'm not sure what colour this feather's going to be, so I'm actually quite tempted just to leave it white and maybe mix in a little bit of the tan there. Now this big book here, it does look really old, so maybe we should give it the full tan treatment. If you want sharper, more defined lines, obviously just sharpen your pencil up. I've kept mine quite blunt in the grand scheme of things, but if you want those lines to be a bit more pronounced like we've got up here, then you can just sharpen up a little bit. So I'm going to go back to my gold colour now, and I'm going to use that here. This is, again, this seems like a slightly newer book. So, well, to me it seems like a slightly newer book, I don't know. But maybe that's just not quite as... And I'm going to leave this one white. That'll give us nice contrast with whatever we're going to do here. A wee bit of lemon in here. And I think I'll pick up the willow pencil again. Again, just a few lines here and there. Less is more. So now I've got this one up the top here. I think it would be a nice idea to maybe use these colours and just have them really, really washed out. So we'll do the same technique that we did earlier. So I've got the dark aquamarine and the other colour was fuchsia, if I remember. Yeah. So let's start with the fuchsia. So take a little bit of colour off of there and then get it till it's pretty washed out. And then we can just add a little bit of that in there. Make for a very interesting book cover. And then the same with the aquamarine. Ooh. There. Now that's interesting, isn't it? That looks pretty cool. I quite like that. Alright then, so I would say that's our book stack done. I really want to do this pocket watch as well. So again, sticking with the tan theme, I just want to put a little bit of colour in the face of the watch. Again, maybe just give it that sort of slightly ye olde feel to it. I mean, even if it doesn't work, it'll still be at the right time twice a day, so maybe it doesn't work at all. But I'm thinking silver for this pocket watch rather than gold, because I want the edging on the books to be gold. Okay, that's pretty good so far. Okay, I'm just going to put these pencils to the side and I'll grab my Julia K paints and we'll get on with some shiny to finish up today. Okay, so I'm back with my Sea White size 2. This seemed to serve me fairly well last time. I do sell these in the stash shop along with all the other sizes of the round brushes and now the flat brushes. And these are really cost effective and reliable paintbrushes. So if you fancy yourself a wee teeny weeny one, or maybe you want a really big one, you can head over to the website, to the stash shop, and there is the address there. Pick yourself up some goodies, treat yourself. Okay, so I'm just going to start at the top here, but we need to pick out some colours first. So I've got my shiny Julia palette. So I think quite a bright gold colour for some of these books. So we've got choices here. We have, I'll show you up here, it's probably easier. I've got Lucia and we've also got Felix Felicis, so we could use those two. I've also got Jenny, which is, you're not gold anymore, but it's got quite a nice shimmer to it. So we're spoiled for choice. We've got 3 to do, so maybe they're the 3 that we should use. I want to pick a silver for the pocket watch as well, and in my mind the only choice is Ezrin, which is this one here. It's very silvery, so and it's very pretty in the palette. You can tell that's one of my favourites. It's got all in it. So maybe we'll use that for one of the books as well. So I'm just going to spray these pans. I mentioned this in the last video. If you're using metallic colours, it's better to spray them with a little bit of water and just give the pigment a chance to sort of stew in its own juices. So I've just got one of these little atomizers. You don't have to buy an art one. You can buy these really cheap in like Pound Shop or wherever. It's a Derwent one I've got. I got it in with something else. Really handy to have. Also handy if you see if you splodge things on your desk. Maybe you drop a dollop of gouache or anything like that. This is really handy to have, and if you're like me and you've got rags kicking about, it's just a quick way of cleaning up without having to stop what you're doing for too long. Right, so let's do these. Yeah, so maybe we should use silver on this one up here again to give us contrast with our I'm beginning to think it might be something like a griffin. It might be. This might be a feather that belongs to said bird. Who knows? I've just realised as well, I've missed the edge of the book as well on the other side. Oh, goodness me. Just grab this willow pencil really quickly. There we go, fixed it. Okay, so let's start with Ezrin then, which is the silver colour. And we'll just have to navigate our way in between. There's actually a line along there, good grief. I'm not even sure you'd get in there with the smallest of water brushes, honestly. Oh, went all quiet for a second there, got to concentrate. This might be an ideal time. Remember I was talking about the metallic pens in the last video? Might be a shout for stuff like this. Oh boy, there we go. Yeah, move on down. I think I want to use Ginny for my olive book here. That's one of the tips that I will say. If you are going to use a paintbrush, try very hard not to have too much paint on your brush. If you overload the brush, then you're going to have like a bit more of a, not a bit more of a problem, but it's going to make things a wee bit more difficult for you. Trying to remember to breathe. Yeah, this is going to look really pretty once it's dry. I mean, it looks pretty now, but it'll look prettier. I think I mentioned this in the last video as well. I'll say it again in case I didn't. If you do go a wee bit over the lines with your metallic, whatever it is, don't panic too much, because if you've got a teeny tiny fine liner, you can go back in and put the line work in if you feel it looks untidy. You know, if it looks as if you've really gone over the lines. It's fairly easy to fix. So I feel like even though this is really fiddly, it's not like a high stakes number here. Okay, so I'm going to pick up Lucia for the next one. You've got some really fine parts here. Oh my. I'm actually taking more paint off my brush than I am like putting on the paper. It does help when you're doing lines like this, if you can go in one full stroke, you'll probably get on better. My hand does not like to do that at all. And you'll notice even when I'm sketching, I always sketch in very rough broken lines and join them up. And it's easier on my hand because this grip is, it's extremely uncomfortable. But I don't have, because there's quite a lot of weight on this part of my hand, I don't have as much feeling in it. So it's kind of like dodgy territory for me. But generally speaking, the proper technique would be to get one smooth, consistent line. These are just the things we do to compensate though. Mr. Jem was laughing at me this morning. I was wiping down one of the kitchen counters, and we've got one of these spray bottles, we call it a squishy bottle, with antibacterial stuff in it, and my hand just spasmed and I literally like launched it halfway across the kitchen. And Mr. Jem said to me, "What did that do to you?" Like, yeah, hand's not working. It is a lot worse in the morning though, first thing, obviously when I haven't been using it. Okay, down to our, I was going to say stopwatch, it's not a stopwatch, pocket watch. Circular things are hard as well. I don't know if anyone else feels that way, but yeah, painting and trying to keep inside the lines and circular things is not the easiest job. I really don't want to cover up this hatching too much, but I want this to look really silver. Sacrifices. Yeah, see, we've gone over the line there. I will fill that in with a fine liner. I'm going to pull some of this paint round actually. There seems to be a lot of paint sitting there. And there's no way I'm going to get an underlayer. Breathe out. The other thing, of course, you can do as well is you can put the hatching back in with the aforementioned fine liner. Sometimes you can get just the right concentration of transparency so that they just peek through a little bit. When you're working in spaces as tight as this though, it's not something that I would aim for. I'm not that ambitious. And I think I want to grab a little bit of this Felix Felicis. This is quite a firm paint. If I was using something that was a lot more dilute, I would probably wait a bit longer for the silver part to dry, but this is almost it's almost like a paste, so the chances of it bleeding into the silver part are pretty slim. Also, not gonna lie, tight for time now. Have other stuff to do today, but this is important. That's just popped out like a shiny penny though, look at it. There we go. Yeah, so definitely tidy up those lines with my fine liner. When you step back, when you see it from this distance on the camera, especially this edge here, it's quite obvious, so I would want to tidy that up. But again, not a requirement, it's only if you feel that's the way it should be. The other thing I'm going to do is just fill in this little part of the stained glass window, and it was Loki we used for that. Just pop that in there. I was so confused by that earlier. I was like, what does this belong to? What part of the drawing does this belong to? Right, okay, that is us for today, everyone. Let's take a zoom out. Oh, so that's starting to come to life a little bit. And you can see that this section is standing out in front of the glass, which is nice. That's what we were kind of looking for. I'm particularly tickled by this fancy page edge on this book. That makes me weirdly happy. I don't know why. But also now as well, we've got that little bit of shine on our books and our pocket watch, which I always think is just a really nice touch, especially in storybook things. I don't know why. It just, it makes it more exciting if you were actually reading through the story. And our imaginary griffin thing looks as if he's got proper feet. So all in all, I would say today has been a good day. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope that some of you are following along. Some of you did say you had this page to colour. And if you've got any variations on that, I would absolutely love to see them. You can share them on Instagram, or you can put them on the Colour Cave Facebook page. And I would love to see some of those. So our next video, I'm hoping, fingers crossed, will be in the next few days. I have a bit of a weird week, so I'm not, there's things that aren't really set in stone, so it's causing me a bit of scheduling issues. But I hope the next video will be in the next few days, and we can crack on with some of the other items on this side of the desk. So thank you very much for watching, and have a great day, everyone. Bye bye for now.